And what's going up, guys? It's your hostess with the most, is Anomalycyra, coming back at it with another mind theory for your mind. And it's your regular dream goddess, Morpheus, female version, guiding you through the matrix of lies and systems that you have to live with all the time. But you want to get out. You don't want to stay there. You want to be your own Neo. You need to break out. You need to come forth. Follow the white rabbit, and let's get into it. Now, one thing I wanted to come across is there's something that's difficult to understand. Now, when you're living inside the matrix and you're dealing with all of these, and we'll put them in the same phrasing so you can understand. So if you're someone who hasn't seen the film or you didn't read the books, there are quite a few, let me just name off one that have nothing to do with it, but definitely look at them. The Simulacrum, this is something I spoke about in a couple other episodes of mine. Definitely look into that book. They had all the actors actually read this book when doing the film. Matrix was a movie that came out in the early, almost 2000s, about 1999, in that area. Right around where we were in the world of people were still trying to understand internet and what did that all mean, and what's the dark web and hackers, and it had a really amazing time to be coming out now. So I think it's really fun that we can wrap back to some ideas like this, because now you'll find yourself depending on what country you live in, there'll be all these different kind of things that are going on, government shutdowns, system reboots, an upgrading of all your computer systems. If you'll notice, things look a little different. Logos have been changed. Companies have gone like they don't want to create as much mess. They're worried about their carbon footprint. We've developed machines that are helping the ice caps refreeze. So there are all these different little things that are constantly going. And they're all the mechanisms in the system of the thing that we love. This is a living, breathing environment. Now, this is something I don't think they really get to go into the movies, because movies are supposed to be fun and pow pow and very so I get that. But in this way, let me bring you on into the other area, and which is why there's something that I can definitely talk about more than anyone else can talk about, know what I'm saying and understand and help and guide you through. It's someone who understands the dream world, right? Because I understand illusions, I understand concepts, I understand, and understanding is also just another box and just another a realm of existence you need to be inside of. So you might want to be careful of those times too, when you start feeling like you need to be understood, or you need to be heard, or any of these needs and processes. Again, another episode, I talked about our needs and our wants, what they actually are, what they actually mean. But I'll try to go into a little bit of everything in little bitty pieces, but I don't want to get to the point where I'm just repeating myself. Definitely that's going to happen, because this is me. This is the brand is me in my mind and how I see the world, and the unique point of view that I can give and share in an amazing, positive way. In a way, I'm a rhetorician, where my skills are based in rhetoric. I have been trained in this way. I love communication and talking, and the morality issues that people have, or the lack thereof, and just more and more and more, and all the beautiful complexities of all the mechanisms and systems that people have developed for themselves. They have a day-to-day life, or a year-to-year life, or they have their whole life planned out, or they have no plan at all. These are all little programs that we all exist in. Even my existing outside of the existence is also a program, which is why I bring up the movies like Matrix, because he ends up seeing at the end that he is another program. There have been 5 Neos before him. They weren't Neo, but they were 5 others who had broken out of the systems, found a Morpheus, and did the whole process and saved Zion. And then he was offered the same step, and he chose love. I think in this way is where we need to stop choosing the same systems we've always chosen before and try a new system. In this way, I'm not asking you to break out of or change anything that you're used to or comfortable with, because it's another thing that Morpheus was also trying to explain. In the land of dreams, being able to create your own reality is not necessarily something you need to leave. My point of my existence here, why you found me, because you found me, If you notice, I don't have ads anywhere. I'm not selling a class. You can't come and find any of this information. My time is very expensive. I don't do one-on-one settings with anyone. The only time that you would be able to have an interaction with someone like me is in a smaller platform like this, which I come here for fun. I have a professional mic, but you wouldn't be able to tell. But I do, or maybe you can tell. But then there's little moments of my own where I have this regular structure of where maybe it came from the Catholic upbringing, or you need to worship the Pope before you worship even Jesus and God itself. And, I don't have any issue in that. I'm not saying anything to be offensive to anyone. But even if I am, that's the thing I always say. You may be offended here because I'm being my authentic self. And I am not walking in any kind of area where I would be tiptoeing to where I need to make sure I don't offend anyone. Because most certainly I will be offended, you will be offended, it is a part of life, you will feel pain, you will suffer, and these are things that I think just in a way, they've been deleted from a lot of people's program, so when they show up, you think they're malware, or you have a virus or something is wrong. It isn't. You're allowed to be sad, upset, you're not always going to have 100% days, and then on the flip side, which this is something I don't see at all, which you'll hear me stating this a lot. I have moments of where I am extremely happy, I feel great, everything's going really good. Where's the pat on the back for that? Where it's just like, I had a really good day. I can't really think of anything to complain about. I can't really think of anything I don't like the way that it is. And there are plenty of things that I could worry about. But I like to also have a moment where I keep it light, where I'm like, I saw this video, and I don't know, like a couple of years ago, there's this thing, or maybe a year or two ago, where it's like, save the turtles, don't drink out of straws, and turtles. And now this whole thing of where the turtle population has like quadrupled, doubled, and I'm exaggerating, and then just blown up to levels that are on scene, and they're covering beaches and laying eggs, and it's an amazing thing, and there's so many turtles now, and that's really great. But I don't see anything about how all the turtles are back, or the bee population went up. The only things you're going to see are the complaints, and this is how the system works. And this is for people that are outside of the Americas, for people that live inside the Americas. This is for humans. And this is the thing I want to help you start to understand, which is why I like my platform of where I say, I'm in a spaceship floating in the universe. I'm not a part of your world. I don't live in your reality. I don't live in your timeline. I don't live in your life frames. None of you. I have nothing in common with anyone. I am the ultimate lone wolf, which is perfectly fine with me. And it's my happy place. Nothing strange about it. It's perfectly normal. If you want to be around a lot of people, that's great. If you don't want to be around anyone, that's fine too. But the thing is that in this way of how I chose isolation, so, which at first it was difficult. I will state that. A lot of people don't state that kind of stuff. It was very hard. I had to leave family behind. That means growing up. So, but I'm still always, daddy's girl and this kind of thing. But in the ways of maturity of my own emotions. So I had to mature emotionally. I had to mature physically. I had to mature verbally. I had to grow and raise up and reparent and start to parent all of these things. There's something that we're not really informed of. So it's like they give you all these numbers and whatever that means to you. So it could be 18, 22, 15, 13 if you're Jewish. And now it's time that you are in control of your own mind or your own thoughts. And my process is, why are we not always taught and reared that the whole time we are? So there is no age where you need to now mature. It would just be leaving childhood, going into your adolescence, and then finally growing into being an adult. Sounds a lot more peaceful, a lot less of a headache, because the main thing I'm told being a young person is that I need to know everything. I have to have everything put together. And then when I feel that way, then older people than me think that I'm somewhat silly, or you want to laugh at me because I don't exactly know that I have plenty of time. And you just feel blocked in at both areas, because I never feel attacked in any way. Like, these are when people want to say their fifth dimensional self, I think they mean their self above those systems and programs. So myself, that is above the systems and programs, and I have some myself, but I have them in the same way that Neo still had to walk on the ground sometime when he was inside of the Matrix, but he could also fly after he figured out where he was. So I can't fly, but in these ways, there are times when I would be extremely affected by something, and then there are times where I completely would not be affected by something. And they're by thought and reason and logic. Not in a psychopathic way where you have no emotions or feelings, because in that way I'm completely the opposite. Or I wouldn't have complex PTSD, So I have all of these strong emotions and anxiety and things like this, worries and not complaints, but things that I know I need to find a solution to, or something may happen that doesn't necessarily make me my happiest, or something like that. And that's always understandable. There's always somewhere where you can go to find information for that kind of thing. But then I come into these areas where I'm very happy about something, or I've been really excited about watching Buffy. Now, I was watching this movie, The New Mutants, and I swear, I guess it was fine. There was like a smoke bear, and he was like really big and like destroying stuff at like the end of the movie. But the beginning of the movie kind of put me to sleep. I couldn't tell you the details of who anybody was, and just, there was a girl with like a puppet that turned into something. She's magic. Why did she stay? I don't know. It made me ask more questions. And for me, I love things that make you ask questions, and that really is really great. And then I get off into my own little universe about it. In my own head, with my three kairos, which is my conscious, my subconscious, my superconscious, and all of those interactions start connecting together. And I am really just vibing, and I am just in my bliss. I have some music on. I have a nice cup of tea. All the dishes are clean. My laundry is done. I have these moments that are just great, and I feel really blissful. And there just really isn't anything where you can enjoy that more. In the same way, it's like, I think being sad or having depression can somehow feel addictive, where at least you have a reason for your being. And no one really cracks this part open either, because again, these are all just systems and programs. Being happy is another affect of a system or a program you're within, which I've picked a positive one. So for me, when I'm feeling really positive about a film or, music, or, a good memory I have pops into mind, or I made an amazing cup of tea that day. Sometimes it's very little simple things, and sometimes you gotta just really let the simple things be the amazing things that they are, and let them feel really good to you, and hold those things more dear than you do the things that hurt you and make you sad. And I know, like, a lot of people are talking about dating and relationships now, so I don't want to turn into a guru for that, but what I would say is most people know when you meet someone naturally, like in the time of cavemen, I would assume. But when you meet someone naturally, automatically you like them, they like you. All of that kind of disappears. So what I think is a lot of these questions and the pressure and the issues and stuff, these are people who are meeting on Snapchat and Tinder and Bumble and Hinge and all the list of things and places where it's like a marketplace. It's very strange to me. I have nothing to do. That's why I like to explain myself as I am an astronaut or a military person in a spaceship, because astronauts are a part of the Air Force. They are military. So I'm not in the military in my physical Earth life, but the only way that I can explain for you human to understand my language is if I give you these titles. Like, this is the thing. I've left the program and the system. Now it is difficult for me to communicate with you within your system because you're so far. There was this poem that actually I think is pretty beautiful, and it's about the more that you're going deep into your consciousness, into who you are, the you, without your body and your worries and your daily stress. The you have to go up. And then you must go further in. And then the deeper that you go within yourself, the further up and the further in. So you may start feeling like you're not making any progress. It's like an escalator. So there's stairs that you're constantly climbing and climbing and climbing, but you can't see the escalator's horizon point. You don't see that it's dipping and bending and winding, and because you're paying attention to your one or two steps. So what I would tell you is that definitely understand that you're making steps. You are making movement. You are going somewhere. You are doing something, whatever that is, whatever it may be. And in those moments, there will be titles that appear. Some call them sadness. Some call them happy. Others call them neutral. Others say, I don't know. And what I want you to understand is all of these emotions are okay. You don't need to do anything to yourself about them, and no one needs to do anything for you about them. Now, the further on you get into something, because now we want to talk about the chemical imbalances in the body. So we have to start going over diet. We have to start going over exercise. We have to think about how you're sleeping. We have to think about the kind of people that you interact or you allow your mind to interact with, because that's the only thing that's interacting when you're having a conversation. Your mind and their mind. Like when I'm speaking with you now, I'm speaking with a whole world of people. And I have confidence to do this because I've been a public speaker for quite a few years. Whether it be I was speaking to 2 people or I'm speaking to hundreds of thousands. I can do either one. I'm not a nervous person. I don't have fear. I've gone through traumatizing, frightening, terrible things that have chased fear out of me. But in that way, it allowed me to be free in other ways where now, if I have an idea, I'm not afraid to act on the idea because I don't have these fears and stuff like that. I didn't have anything sexually scary happen to me. So in that way, I have to just be grateful that I didn't have that experience, and my sympathies and my compassion and my empathy goes out to anyone who did have that kind of experience. But for me, it was more physical violence and just fighting. And a lot of the times, and it's in a short amount of time because thank God I didn't live too many places for too long, but I've lived so many places that some of the places I lived had a very violent upbringing people. So when I was in the South, they weren't big in the South of the Americas. So when you're in the Americas and you're in the South of these regions, they're not very open-minded. They don't, and I speak this way for those of you who are in the Americas and you wonder why I speak this way. I speak this way because a lot of my followers are in Norway and Iceland and Finland and Sweden and Germany. So if I say the South, they would not understand where the South would be. The South could be the southern hemisphere of Earth. This is a very big place. Understand that things are bigger than your view and your perception, and that's okay. Love you, but just try to understand that I need to speak to an international audience and not only the American audience. And in that way, I'd like to range up why I wanted to live so many places, because I wanted these understandings. This is why. I've always had this kind of mind thought process where I wanted to know how multiple people think. This is why I think it's such a shame that I don't speak Norwegian completely. I know a couple of cute words in a couple of these languages that, can get me by, and I get a couple of smiles, like a cute bird that can, say hello. And that's really great. It gets me far. Love you, Norwegian guys. Hi. And, I don't have to say anything in Ireland, but definitely I want a sweater from there. And the next time that I go to Ireland, I told myself I'm going to get that sweater no matter what. Norway too. I love sweaters, so I'll be collecting on through. So Finland, Norway, and Ireland, I want sweaters from all of there. I'm thinking that I want to just pick white sweaters so I can range the differences of the ones I like, because really I am more of a monochromatic type wearer. I like black, white. Sometimes I'll wear red just to surprise myself. But for the most part, I'm in a black turtleneck and black jeans. I'm a Steve Jobs all day long. And I have to learn how to get the edge, though, that he had. Like, if I could learn how to yell at someone for doing something I told them not to do, I said order it by this time. I feel maybe I would have been more aggressive in business sooner. And then because the pandemic hit, and someone who's doing public speaking, I gotta say, it put a knife in me. And now I could be, speaking to a couple hundred people, speaking to one person from the thing that I would like. And I guess I have to put this in a different way. So if I do talk to one person, It's $1,000 per hour. Speak with me. So I would say I don't interact with your average person or someone who's going through your regulatory things, but the person that I interact with has control over the lives of a lot of people. And they need to be in a way of where they're calm and level-headed, because it can affect the livelihoods of over 50,000 people if they don't do, certain things that they're supposed to do. And there's a lot of weight with that, someone needs to feed their family or gas their car or, support their life. And if you mess up, and today your mess up would be that you just didn't feel that love today. These are humans. I see a lot of things that are somewhat disheartening. And in the Americas, you'll get patted on the back, you get celebrated for success and being wealthy. But maybe over in Germany, it's not something that you would flash or tell anyone about. If you're over $100 million, most likely you won't let anyone take a picture of you. There are no documentaries about where all your billions came from. And, it's a different reality. So when someone so I'd have to say someone possibly in the Europe or Asian area, they have to deal with a different kind of stress. And that's something more of my area, which is why I like to bring in, I have military understanding, not joining the military. My father's in the military. I'm a military brat. I've lived on the military base. So I have deep influences. So that's what I like to always state. So, cause the main thing is people always ask me, do you work for the FBI or the CIA? Are you a police officer? You're always in some you're in the military force or something. You're in Marine or Air Force. I'm not in these things. I am heavily influenced by them. Where my mother was an agent, where my father was Air Force, military, sergeant, and even when he got out, police force. This has just always been around me. So for me, I've always been able, and I've never been in trouble. I've always been, I'm a good girl. I'm always the good girl type. That kind of just how that happened. And so, I get to travel on my own, and then someone will ask me something. Speaking of that, so when I'm speaking about travel, I hear people talk about travel and they're going to amazing hotels and they're spending thousands of dollars. I didn't travel that way. I saved for a few months. I picked a location. I went there and I struggled and I lived for a few weeks. So I would find a hostel that was kind of nice, and I have a backpack. I carry it with me everywhere. I'm walking around, I'm learning, I'm reading things, and I'm just taking in the neighborhood. On a day-to-day basis, I'm buying an orange and going back to my room. There wasn't big parties, or I didn't know a lot of people to do things with. No one was offering me a lot of things to go do, because in a way, I'm probably just quiet and I'm reading my book. I may seem like I want to be left alone. Maybe I did want to be left alone. So I got to see places, but I didn't get to see them in the way everyone's acting, like they want a response from me. It's this kind of thing. And I feel like I have to do a show for them. Oh, you went to Finland and Helsinki, Oh, you've been to Berlin, or to Frankfurt. Not Berlin, I was in Frankfurt. So, I have to say that. Well, no, I didn't go to Berlin. I went to Frankfurt because they had a connector flight from where I was at. So I was able to be there for a few hours, and I had tasty apple beer. I think I got drunk. I wasn't really sure. And then I had to leave. There wasn't any hot German guy that swept me off my feet for an hour. And I love Hallmark movies. So maybe in my mind, I was just you never know. Keep your mind open. Maybe. But really, I was there for the experience. I wanted to learn cultures. I wanted to see day-to-day life. I want to learn about the thinking process in the mind. What are your systems and programs that you're living in? Because I don't live in that world. And so in my mind state, they're all rooms. Everywhere you go is a room. Everywhere is a box. And then you end up in a box. Possibly, if you're lucky. You end up in a box in the ground. If you're lucky. And I state that because a lot of people don't understand that you have to pay for a graveyard, you have to pay for a headstone, you have to pay for somewhere to bury someone, you have to pay for all that in America. And I don't know, I would love to hear from everyone, what your burial scenarios are. But for here, it's very expensive. It's expensive to live, it's expensive to die. So and if you die, you can't help it. God. And if you die and you couldn't help it, and there is no money, they do something where they let people see the body or something, like they'll dress them and they do the suit thing or that kind of stuff. And you can see them, but it's at the hospital, like at a morgue or something, or they let them go to the funeral home. It's very strange. We got off on a tangent, but I'll be back in a minute. And then they take the body to cremation. So they burn it up in the little ashes and they put it in like a little box, a canister, whatever they've got laying around, because you didn't buy for an urn. You have to pay for that pretty little thing it goes into. And that, just as I'm getting older, I was just like, there were so many things that I didn't know, like I didn't know cost money. I know things cost money, but I didn't know they cost money. And there's like, I can't have these conversations with people that I know now, because now I've entered a different phase of life where I may be in an area where I'm more struggling and having to deal with money problems. And there's just a lot of things I don't understand. Like I grew up with a washer and dryer. So there wasn't a world where doing laundry, we had a maid or my mom did little loads. It was never me though. And it's not like I was the type of kid who didn't want to. I had academia. So I have books, I have classes, I have debates, I have, I need to rest or I'm studying something. I always made sure that I was doing that kind of stuff because I didn't want to be being in trouble. I never wanted a record. And most of the time I would skip out of school. And not like skip, like don't go. I would rather stay home and do my studies than go to school because remember, I'm also, we're talking like close friends. So I'm like, you remember when I told you last time, I lived a lot of different places for a very long time. My hometown, from Illinois, Midwestern girl through and through, probably why I talk a lot and I say goodbye for like half an hour. But I think it's endearing and it's quite sweet and I love it. In Illinois, in America, which I was by maybe 4 hours from Canada. So there's some of those influences too, which in America, if you say you have an influence of Canada, that more just means I'm maybe hyper polite, like someone from the UK would be or something. I may apologize if I bump into you. Or if you step on my foot, I would still say, oop, sorry, oop, Midwest. So, yes. And when I phrase these types of things, it's getting more understandable for you can get to know who I am. I want to make sure that I explain that too. So, in the middle of having a very full life, I was going to art college and figuring out what I wanted to do. I met someone, I fell in love. I thought everything was going really perfectly planned. And then a relative of mine wasn't doing very well. I had to leave for that and do the health thing. So I turned into staying in a hospital all the time, even though I grew up in a hospital, because outside of that, I had little lung issues. So I was always in the hospital. I was in the hospital more than I was at home. And it was more like they were just trying to see what was different with me. Like I didn't need sleep very much. So I did a lot of sleep studies and they do this gooey stuff where like the doctors who are listening, when you guys part the hair and you put the gluey sticky stuff inside the head because you need to read the waves and everything like that. Yeah, I did a lot of those because I thought I had insomnia, but really they're just like my brain just works differently. And I thought it was like really cool and kind of interesting. I've got extra organs. Like I have a extra long kidney. I have double parts to my lungs. Like I'm just kind of alien all through and through. I've had an alien experience. For like my 2% of my female listeners, I have 2 uteruses. So like a lot of women, which means I have double hormones, So there's a lot of things that I have to deal with and combat with and mix with, which is what got me into the mind and the quantum field and reality and just understanding all of these things. They don't make you who you are. And I also live in a world where like so many things I just wasn't allowed to be. So I'm a tomboy, but I love business. I love business and finance, but I have a Barbie doll house. And this is like when I'm like 14 or something, I still liked Barbie dolls. I didn't do the chasing boys thing until I was like 16, 17. I waited way later and I never chased boys. I just had a boyfriend. I've always just had relationships. Like even now, I can't give advice about dating or, first dates or profiles, anything. And it's not like an age thing. It's just like a no experience because I was in a relationship. So like as soon as I'd meet someone, we were just boyfriend and girlfriend for years until we weren't. And then I would always I just knew psychologically, I'd always give myself that 6-month break, year break. And I mean, I haven't been alive long enough to have been with that many people. So if you're with someone for 4 years, I mean, that's like after you're 18, that's going to be a lot of your life. There just wasn't much life of me being alive to put in experience. So, and then the next relationship after that, I was with someone for 10 years, 11 years. So still am. And I mean, you never know what's going to happen. People die, or they get hit with electricity, or you break up, or you get married and you have children, or you drift apart, or anything happens. So I just don't see myself in this world of where you need to fit into any of these little boxes. But I've had experiences, for the most part, that show me that they're exactly what they are. They're little boxes that keep you, and sometimes you can feel safe, but you're not. And they give you organization and a way to understand something. So in that way, I'm not a person who wants to be understood, needs to be understood, is looking to be understood. I think I'm understanding. I like to understand other people, but I don't put myself in a way where anyone needs to understand me at all. If you resonate with something, so if you're here listening for this long especially, then something is clicking with you, you feel an emotion towards something, you're really flowing with me, and that's really great, and I'm here for you. And this is why I make these, and really I just wanted to let you know that maybe I'm not like your other podcast listeners where they're uploading like every Wednesday and they've got like a crew of people who are going to be there. So for me though, that's not always going to happen. I'm going to upload when I can, and I still love you guys, but there's a lot more going on than this, and I want you to stay tuned for a lot of that stuff. But we're working on a lot of things we have coming together, and then in between that, I got to keep myself from being sad. Sometimes you just need to not be sad. And I don't want to record something when I'm in that kind of mood either. But I wanted to record something so many times when I was in a great mood, or I was really happy, or I was feeling really excited. Sorry for like the hair scratch if you hear that. But I didn't want to be overly excited. So I could have just been completely overthinking everything like I normally do, and not just getting this to an area where I just need to package it and give it to you. Because you know what you want, you take what you want, you're going to listen to what you want to listen to, and then I'll find out what's going on later with it and just keep sending you more, and you'll pick what you like, and you won't listen to what you don't. And that's the great thing about this. I don't need to really feel like I need to fit in to some kind of thing, or I won't be good enough. Because like with all the love that I've received from you guys, it's been overwhelming, and it's been really amazing, and I couldn't even believe that someone donated. Like I put a link there. I have no idea like if you can even see it, or if something is there, what does donating even mean to people? But I come in there and I check it and stuff, and I'm like seeing that, and I'm just like, wow, it makes me feel like special, or like I'm validated, or, so I just want to let you guys know that like, thank you. And I love you too. And it's always great chatting with you and catching up. And I want to keep the platform in a way of where I'm Space Girl, and we're going to communicate about more than Mars, of course, and floating through the universe. But I definitely want to keep it in that way, because I'm never going to talk about newsworthy things. I'm not going to, it just don't interest me. There are a lot of topics that are going on. I know if you've noticed, and you listen to my episodes, you'll notice that there are a couple of things missing. Well, yes, because they don't exist in my reality. But I acknowledge that they exist in your reality, and I have compassion and empathy for your reality and what you're experiencing and what you're going through. But you might want to have a break from that sometimes, or maybe you want to question it and have your own authority over your own thoughts instead of what the news is telling you about something. So you come here where we can talk about safe books, maybe once or twice I might mention a film like 1984, and you can go do your own research, come back to an episode, make it your own little fun thing that you can do with me. And it might be in a one-way thing, but I know you're there. I know you're listening. I can see the people who are listening. I can see how many listens I've got and from where, all around the world. And especially in these areas of like how I was saying before, and like Europe and things. And I have stretched out my voice and my arms across this whole world to share this message that if you need a guide, a Morpheus type guide, you want to neo your way through your matrix, you would like to understand the systems that are guiding you into things that you don't want to do, like regular interactions you don't like. Maybe you would just like to meet a girl and tell her that you like her. And you live somewhere like Iceland where women don't want you to do that. So now what do you do? And you need tips and tricks and ideas and things like that and all this kind of stuff. I've lived there. I understand. So a lot of these places I've lived, I understand. I have a different point of view. Also, being attractive female, I could tell you that getting hit on when a guy is too aggressive, this just happened to me recently, not to be like random as AF, but he was trying to get my number like really, really bad. And I said everything possible because at that point I just felt like I felt like I had a responsibility to not be like mean or rude because, he's trying to like shoot his shot, but how many ways can you say no? So I said no, and then no, thank you. And then no, I don't want any friends. And then no, I don't have any male friends because I don't. But I also don't have a lot of female friends. Like I don't have friends. I isolate, so I don't want any of that, but I love the conversation and the rhetoric that you can have. He's a taxi driver. So, I like to be like, how's the ride going? Oh, you just started. Oh, great. Your taxi it smells good or whatever. And I can get on my phone. It's just a nice little interaction I like to have. It's probably the Midwestern in me. I don't know. I feel like halfway about it. Like, should I stop doing that? I should just get in and be really cold and don't say anything. And no one wants to hear my hello, or I don't want to hear theirs, but I don't want to interact with my world that way. I've picked a different program. For me, I've decided one that's nauseatingly positive. And it's just something, and I'll put it that way because a lot of people are taught to be pessimistic, nihilist, you only live once, we're all going to die, and this kind of, and I'm as emo and gothic as anyone. And I definitely will have the moments when I'm dealing with stress and I can be like, well, I could fix the problem or I could kill myself. I don't mean to laugh about it, but if you have a dark sense of humor, you get it. And that's just who that was for. But then you decide, all right, I guess I'll stick around. Let's go do the laundry. I mean, it could be like the littlest thing. So you catch yourself in these funny, strange little moments of where you are being more complex than you need to be, overthinking where you don't have to. And my thing is, it's not a perfect practice. You've either caught me before or you caught me saying it now. I will rethink something, doubt myself. I'm not sure, but you'll see me here anyway. You will see me here anyway. Because if there's something I know, it's this dream reality. If there's something I know, it's illusions. It's the matrix. It's how to live outside of it. It's how to not be affected by it. And it's how to live with and without it. And that's the one thing I don't see anywhere being taught. And those that I see teaching it, if you watch them long enough, it's mostly bullshit. They've never been through anything. They haven't struggled. I've been through a lot. I've struggled, I've overcome, I've become successful, I've failed, I've hit the bottom, I've come back up, and I've hit the bottom again. And here we are starting over. Because if you take a great man, and the saying's like a great man, but we know they mean mankind. If you take a great man and you drop him with nothing, you could also use Job from the Bible, and you drop him with nothing and take everything from him, and you leave him with God and his mind, there is nothing that can stop that man. And in this case, me. Princess. So I'm happy I was able to get something out to you for January. I know. Put me on a fork. I am delicious, but I'm done. We're going to talk next time, and I will try not to do it at the end of the month. I'll try to get to you at the beginning of next month. And if anything, I'll always make sure I'm uploading at the beginning, at the end of each month. And you can always look forward to that. As we go further into this, I'll get it to every week. Be patient with me. I need to be patient with myself. I'll start doing longer episodes, and we'll just start working our way up. And you just start listening to more of my episodes, like go through my whole thing, critique it, judge it, do what you need to do, but listen to them. They get the listens. It helps the algorithm. I want to make sure that these are getting fed to people and that you know that I have a new episode uploaded. This will be the longest episode I've done so far, so yay! And we're getting there, and I can't wait until we're like episode 3,000 and whatevers. But for right now, it's only been like 30 episodes or so or something like that. But I'm building them up, and it's getting really great. And I love this new technology and this new platform. So yes, there's an ad at the beginning of each one of these. I don't put it in the middle because I want to get it over with. So we're selling a certain thing. You know, it's 3 seconds. I made it as short as possible. Just skip past it if you have to. But I would hope that you listen to it and just go on into what I'm talking about. And I always appreciate it. And these things need to make money, so make sure that you're helping your everyone that you watch, and make sure you subscribe and you like and you follow and you do all that to everybody that you like and you want to support their work, because we're out here being creators and we want to make things for you guys to enjoy. Really, we want to make you happy, and at the end of the day, just help us make you happy. It's great. I love it. So, without further ado, whether it be night or the morning, I would wish you a good night and a good morning. And I hope you're doing well and stay safe. And don't be afraid to be your happiest self. It's okay to be happy. Let's make that a trend. Love you. We'll talk soon. Bye.